الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا وحبيبنا ونبينا محمد وبارك وسلم. Okay, the next chapter in this book is بيان تفضيل الطريق إلى تهذيب الأخلاق. It's a chapter on a detailed method to refine the character. So far he has been, Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, he was talking about the general methods as to how one can fix one's character, the diseases of his heart. Now he is he's going to talk about a little bit of more explanation as to what one should be doing. And he says قد عرفت من قبل أن الاعتدال في الأخلاق وصحة النفس والميل عن الاعتدال سقم ومرض فيها، كما أن الاعتدال في مزاج البدن هو صحة له والميل عن الاعتدال مرض فيه، فلنتخذ البدن مثالا. He says so far what we have understood is that i'tidal, that balance in akhlaq, is the health of the nafs. Right? This is what we have been doing yesterday. That any excess or any deficiency is an ill trait. So what we are after is i'tidal in that quwwat of ilm and the ghadab and the shahwat. And that is maintained by that quwwat that actually maintains that quwwat of adl. And the goal is to bring the shahwat and the ghadab in a balanced place within the bounds of aql and sharia. Right, so this is mashallah. So you understood that session, huh? Good. You've repeated it so many times, mashallah, now you understand what that all was about. So any excess or deficiency from that balanced line is an ill trait. Excess or deficiency, both. So now we know that this i'tidal in akhlaq is the sihat of the nafs. This balanced way in all of those quwwats is in reality the health of the nafs or the ruh. And any deviation from that i'tidal, from that balance, is a sickness in it. He says it is just like that there is an i'tidal in the badan. If there is a balanced way in our bodies as well, that is also the health of the body. And if there is any deviation from the balanced proportions of the body, that is also sickness in it. So he says that what we will do, or what I will do, is that we'll take the body as an example and we'll highlight the cure of the diseases of the nafs or the ruh or the heart through it. فلنتخذ البدن مثالا فنقول مثال النفس في علاجها بمحو الرذائل والأخلاق الرضية عنها وجلب الفضائل والأخلاق الجميلة إليها. And he's saying that also, like the sicknesses are removed from the jism, from the badan, from the body, and an effort is made to make it pure, make it healthy, just like that the bad traits of the character are removed from the nafs and it is replaced by the good traits of the character. It says in reality, وَكَمَا أَنَّ الْغَالِبَ عَلَى أَصْلِ الْمِزَاجِ الْإِعْتِدَالِ, that in reality what is dominant in the bodies is also i'tidal. That the reality is i'tidal, the balanced way. And he says, وَإِنَّمَا تَعْتَرِي He said, إِنَّمَا تَعْتَرِي الْمِعْدَةَ الْمُضَرَّةُ بِعَوَارِضِ الْأَغْذِيَةِ وَالْأَهْوِيَةِ وَالْأَحْوَالِ. He says, for example, there is a stomach, and it deviates from its i'tidal, from its balance, then it gets upset. Right? It gets upset. So the reality is the balance. And says, فَكَذَلِكَ كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ مُعْتَدِلًا صَحِيحَ الْفِطْرَةِ وَإِنَّمَا أَبَوَاهُ يَهُوِّدَانِهِ أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه أي بالاعتياد والتعليم تكسب الرذائل. It says that this is a very famous hadith, that every child is born on fitra, on a natural way. And he says that later on that his parents will change him, either will make him a Jew or a Christian or a fire worshipper. So this is what this hadith means, that in reality every child that is born is on that balanced nature and a true fitra. And then according to what the environment that he gets, then he deviates from that balance. Yani he's saying that through adat ay bil i'tiyadi wa ta'limi, with the adat, with the habits of people, and with whatever he is taught, tuksabur razailu, he earns all of these ill traits. وَكَمَا أَنَّ الْبَدَنَ فِي الْإِبْتِدَاءِ لَا يُخْلَقُ كَامِلًا, and just like when a baby is born, his body is not created complete. وَإِنَّمَا يَكْمُلُ وَيَقْوِي بِالنَّشْفِ وَالتَّرْبِيَةِ بِالْغِذَاءِ, and just like that it becomes complete and it becomes strong by feeding it and by training it through the food. فَكَذَلِكَ النَّفْسُ تُخْلَقُ نَاقِصَةً قَابِلَةً لِلْكَمَالِ, just like that the nafs, the ruh, it is created incomplete, but it has that capability of getting that perfection. وَإِنَّمَا تَكْمُلُ بِالتَّرْبِيَةِ وَتَهْذِيبِ الْأَخْلَاقِ وَالتَّغْذِيَةِ بِالْعِلْمِ, and the way that it is perfected is by tarbiyat, by training, and by the tahzib al-akhlaq, like by refining its character, and by giving it the food of ilm. وَكَمَا أَنَّ الْبَدَنَ إِنْ كَانَ صَحِيحًا فَشَأْنُ الطَّبِيبِ تَمْهِيدُ الْقَانُونِ الْحَافِظِ لِلصِّحَّةِ وَإِنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا فَشَأْنُهُ جَلْبَ الصِّحَّةِ إِلَيْهِ. It said if the body is perfect, yani there is nothing wrong with that, so what does the doctor do? What does the doctor do? You go for like you take the baby for every 6 monthly checkups, right? Every 3 monthly checkups. It gives him vaccinations. What he's trying to do? He's trying to plan for maintaining its health. When a baby is born on an i'tidal, and if say there is nothing wrong, and there is the health is perfect, but still you take him to the doctor. What does the doctor do? He'll give him vaccination every 3 months, every 2 months, every 6 weeks, whatever. Why? He's trying to maintain that health that is in the baby. And if it is sick, what does the doctor do? He tries to bring back the health. Right? So he says that Just like that, فَكَذَلِكَ النَّفْسُ مِنْكَ إن كانت زكية طاهرة مهذبة وينبغي أن تسعى لحفظها وجلب مزيد قوة إليها. Just like that, if the nafs, it is pure, it is sanctified, it is muhazzab, yani it is trained. So what should be done is to maintain the health of it and to strengthen it further. واكتساب زيادة صفائها وإن كانت عديمة الكمال والصفاء فينبغي أن تسعى لجلب ذلك إليها. And if it is sick, then what should be done is to bring those characters, those good traits of the character that it is missing out on. وكما أن العلة المغيرة لاعتدال البدن الموجبة المرض لا تعالج إلا بضدها فإن كانت من حرارة فبالبرودة وإن كانت من برودة فبالحرارة فكذلك الرذيلة التي هي مرض القلب علاجها بضدها ويعالج مرض الجهل بالتعلم ومرض البخل بالتسخي ومرض الكبر بالتواضع ومرض الشرح بالكف عن المجتهي تكلفا وكما. So he's saying just like, so now what he's doing, he's giving the example of a body as to what do you do with your bodies if they're sick and how do you fix that, and he's giving the similar example for the nafs or the ruh as to how to remove the diseases of the nafs, of the ruh, of the hearts, and how can we bring in the good traits of the character. So he's saying that just like the body, whatever is the cause of it not being at i'tidal, at the just place, at the just level, at the balanced level, so the ilaj, the cure of that is done by the opposite of it. So he says, for example, somebody has temperature. Somebody has temperature, has fever. What do? You take a shower. Babies, if they have fever, it has clearly crossed a certain limit, you actually take the baby and put them into the cold water to remove that fever, that remove the temperature from them. So he's saying just like the unbalanced position of the body is cured by the opposite of it, like the fever or the hot temperature is removed by the coldness, and the coldness is removed by the hotness. For example, if you're really shivering with cold, what do? You turn on the heat. Because why are you feeling that cold? Why are you shivering? Because your body is not at that balanced level. That's why you're feeling the cold. That's why you're shivering. So what do? How do you fix that? You turn on the heat. So you're doing the ilaj by doing the opposite. So he said just like that, the diseases of the heart, the diseases of the nerves, their ilaj, their cure is also done by their opposites. For example, he says somebody is ignorant, the cure of that is ilm, knowledge. Somebody is stingy, then its cure is generosity. Somebody is arrogant, then its cure is humbleness. Somebody is greedy, then their ilaj, their cure is done by putting a stop on the desires. And he says even it means that you will takallufan, even if it takes a little toll, even if it's hard on you, but you have to do it. Right? There is no choice. That's what we have been doing. We have been saying since yesterday. This is what Imam Ghazali is saying since yesterday. And you cannot just let it go. Do you let go of your bodies? You go to every place if you are sick. You try your allopathic and homeopathic and your Chinese medicine and herbal medicine, and you just name it. Why? Because you're feeling that you're not balanced. Or if you just leave it, maybe you'll die one day very, very soon. Right? This is what people think. So he's saying it is even more important because this death is even a worse death, the spiritual death. So it is not a choice, we must do that. So then he says, وَكَمَا أَنَّهُ لَا بُدَّ مِنْ الْإِحْتِمَالِ لِمِرَارَةِ الدَّوَاءِ وَشِدَّةِ الصَّبْرِ على المشتهيات لعلاج الأبدان المريضة فكذلك لا بد من احتمال مرارة المجاهدة والصبر لمداوة مرض القلب بل أولى فإن مرض البدن يخلص منه بالموت ومرض القلب والعياذ بالله تعالى مرض يدوم بعد الموت أبد الآباد. What that I just said, I'm still trying to wake up. I'm awake, but I'm trying to just get into that mode. Inshallah, I'll be running very soon, inshallah. It takes time in the morning. You know, time comes when the tiredness is just like overwhelms. He's saying that just like to cure the sicknesses of the body, you take medicine, and even that medicine is bitter in taste, you still take it. Why? You need the cure. He says just like, and also what is done, that you sometimes suppress the desires of your nafs to get yourself cured, right? If, for example, you have flu, or you have a very... So what is he saying? That you actually take the bitter taste of the medicine. And also, sometimes you suppress yourself. For example, if you have a sore throat, you go to the doctor, and he says, don't eat ice cream for like next 3 days. Abdullah, my son doesn't agree to that. He said, nothing happens eating ice creams if you're sore throat. But say a doctor says that you don't have to eat ice creams if you have a sore throat, and it's really hurting. What will you do? Okay, I won't eat ice cream for next 3 days, fine. And I want that it just goes back to normal, to that balanced state. You will do that. He said, just like that, for the nafs, to cure the sicknesses of the nafs, of the ruh, we should also take the bitter taste of the mujahidas, of the struggle. And we should also be patient on our nafs. In fact, he says that to cure the sicknesses of the heart, it is more important to go through these struggles, because the sicknesses of the body, they will finish when the ruh will leave the body. But if the sicknesses of the soul, of the heart remains, and say, may Allah protect us, then they are going to remain there forever. They're going to remain there forever. It's not going to leave. If somebody has cancer, once he dies his physical death, that's it. Gone. There's no more cancer. But if somebody has the cancer of the heart, yani the spiritual heart, that is not going to leave him. In fact, that's going to be very tough. Because if people have iman and they want to go into paradise, then they must get rid of that sickness. Because Allah Ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ جَزَاءُ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Paradise is only the reward for those people who do not have any disease in their hearts. Who do not have any disease in their hearts. Whose hearts are purified. ذَلِكَ جَزَاءُ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. So that means that Allah Ta'ala will never ever ever let those people enter into His pure paradise whose hearts are diseased. He will never let those people enter into His paradise whose hearts are diseased. Yani who have the ill traits of their character, whatever it is. Anger, jealousy, greed, stinginess, lust, arrogance, animosity, ill feelings, whatever it is. Allah Ta'ala will not let that person enter into His paradise. So it has to be cured. So He's saying that it is more important if we go through struggles to purify our hearts. Otherwise, what will happen? Because Allah Ta'ala will not let those people enter into His paradise without the purification of their heart. What will happen then? Either they will fall in calamities in this dunya. Because of the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. Because of the mercy of Allah Ta'ala, He wants these people to enter into His paradise. Allah Ta'ala will try to purify their hearts because they don't care about themselves. So Allah Ta'ala will put people into calamities so that they might wake up, and those calamities will in return also become the source of the purification of their heart. It washes the hearts. If people's hearts are so sick that it does not purify them, then the punishment of the grave, waliyazu billah, that becomes the source of the purification of the heart. Say, if people's sicknesses are even more, they have never cared about themselves, then the day of judgment itself, such a tough day for the people who have not purified their hearts. It comes in the hadith that people will be drowning in their own sweat. It will be a very, very tough day. The toughness of that day will become the source of the purification of the heart. If people's sicknesses are still there, then they will be entered into the hellfire, wal-iyadhu billah. Why? So that the fire of the hell will clean up the remains, and as the people will be purified, and as soon as the people will be purified depending on their sicknesses, they will be taken out one by one from the hellfire as far as they have iman in their heart, and they will be put into the paradise. But purification is a necessity. ذَلِكَ جَزَاءُ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Paradise is only for those people who have attained the tazkiyah of the nafs. There is no other way. So he's saying it is even more important because to go through the bitterness of the mujahidas, of the struggles to purify oneself, it is more so important than the bitterness of the medicine to get the cure of the bodies, because this can remain with us forever. Even after the death, the physical sickness will go away with the death of the people. It will not remain with the people anymore. This is going to remain. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. Hereafter is better, and it is forever. No ending to that. We can't say that what time will come that the end, the akhirah, the hereafter will end. It's not going to end. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. They will be in there forever. وَكَمَا أَنَّ كُلَّ مبرد لا يصلح لعلة سببها الحرارة إلا إذا كان على حد مخصوص، ويختلف ذلك بالشدة والضعف والدوام وعدمه وبالكثرة والقلة، ولا بد له من معيار يعرف به مقدار النافع منه، فإنه إن لم يحفظ معياره زاد الفساد. فكذلك النقائض التي تعالج به الأخلاق لا بد لها من معيار، وكما أن معيار الدواء مأخوذ من معيار العلة، حتى إن الطبيب لا يعالج ما لم يعرف عن العلة من حرارة أو برودة، فإن كانت من حرارة فيعرف درجتها أهي ضعيفة أم قوية، فإذا عرف ذلك التفت إلى أحوال البدن والأحوال الزمان وصناعة المريض وسنه وسائر أحواله، ثم يعالج بحسبها. فكذلك الشيخ المتبوع الذي يطبب نفوس المريدين ويعالج قلوب المسترشدين ينبغي ألا يهجم عليهم بالريادة والتكاليف في فن مخصوص وفي طريق مخصوص ما لم يعرف أخلاقهم وأمراضهم، وكما أن So now he's saying that just like if somebody has a disease, like say they have fever, and they get some bodily diseases, physical diseases out of that fever. He says that not every cold medicine, so he's talking about what do you call it, Hakimana ilaj, right? There was no allopathic medicine at this time. So what they would cure people with was the opposites of that. So there's a concept of coldness and hotness. It is in the hadith as well. Prophet ﷺ used to eat cucumber with dates together. And he says that the heatness of the date is settled by the coldness of the cucumbers. So it is in the hadith as well. So he is also mentioning a similar thing. He's saying just like that if somebody has a hot, his temperature, he has a high temperature, then he says for every sickness that is created by the hot temperature, not every cold medicine is beneficial for it until that it is not prescribed by looking into the extremity and the of the sickness, and as far as there is no increase or decrease based on the sickness. So you go to a tabib, to a doctor, to a hakim, he will look into your problem, your sickness, and he will see, what medicine is good for you. He will look into that, what medicine is good for you. He said not every medicine is the same for everybody. So if you have relatively higher temperature, maybe you need, I'm talking about today's terms, maybe you need an injection, you need a shot. And if you have like just maybe 1 degree, 2 degrees higher, maybe the Panadol would work. It depends. Or maybe he will say you have to have sponges on as well. Or maybe you need to have, if they're kids, have to give them suppositories or whatever. It's all different. It depends on how high is the temperature and what is causing it. You go to a doctor and say, I have a temperature, looks like I have an infection, can you give me antibiotics? He said, what are the symptoms? Right? Are you having sore throat? There's a different antibiotic for that. Are you having say somebody has a wound that has got infected, there's a different antibiotic for that. So it says that the cure for not all the fevers is the same. The diseases that come out of those sicknesses, the diseases that come out of those high temperatures, then there is a different cure for that. So the doctor will look into it and will try to find out as to what is causing it. How high is the temperature? What is the condition of the patient? It says that the doctors have a means to establish that. They establish the dose of the medicine, and he would prescribe the medicines that is beneficial for the patient, and that will be the cure for his sickness. And if this is not considered, if the condition of the patient and that is not considered, then it is a possibility that instead of that sickness going down, it will become more. Right? It may become more. You never know. Somebody went to the doctor and said, give me, my child is having a bad stomach. Can you give me medicine? And he was having diarrhea. And so he wanted that the diarrhea could be controlled, and he thought, the doctor thought that he's constipation. And he gave him the medicine to remove constipation, and he gave it to the kid. And you can imagine what happened. And he was almost close to death. So if you just go and tell the doctor that, my stomach is bad, well, you should know, what does it mean my stomach is bad, constipation or diarrhea? So that he can prescribe the medicine accordingly. If otherwise, it can lead to the death, or at least the sickness will increase, right? So it says that if the doctors will not consider the condition of the patient, then what will happen? Then instead of the sickness going down, it can increase. He says, likewise, the nafs is the same. The doctor, the sheikh, he should consider that the ill traits that he is treating, the ill traits that he is treating by their opposites. Remember, he's saying that all the ill traits or all the diseases are to be treated by their opposites. Then he should consider the level of that. He should consider the level of that. the right amount of medicine. He says that the prescription of the medicine is calculated, or it's fixed in the light of the sickness. So a doctor cannot treat the patient until he does not find out that the disease is because the cause of the disease is the coldness or the hotness, right? He cannot treat the patient until he finds out that if the cause is the coldness or the hotness, and if it is caused by the hotness, then he will look into the intensity of that. And then he says that the doctor also looks into how is the condition of the body, what is needed as per the time, what is the age of the patient, and what does he do, etc. So he says that the doctor will look into all of the history. The doctor, to treat the patient, will look into all of the history, and then in the light of that, all of those circumstances, he will consider, or he will prescribe the medicine. He said, just likewise, the murshid, the shaykh should also look into that, how his patients are like, and his spiritual patients. He should look into them as to how they are like, and he should not put that much burden of the struggles, riyadat and mujahidas. He should not put that burden on him that he's not able to take it. And he's also saying that he should not also prescribe him any mujahida until he does not find out as to what is the sickness. وكما أن الطبيب لو عالج جميع المرضى بعلاج واحد قتل أكثرهم، فكذلك الشيخ لو أشار على المريدين بنمط واحد من الريادة أهلكهم وأمات قلوبهم، بل ينبغي أن ينظر في مرض المريد وفي حاله وسنه ومزاجه وما تحتمله بنيته من الريادة، ويبني على ذلك رياضته. فإن كان المريد مبتدئا جاهلا بحدود الشرع فيعلمه أولا الطهارة والصلاة وظواهر العبادات، وإن كان مشغولا بمال حرام أو مفارقا لمعصية فيأمره أولا بتركها. فإذا تزين ظاهره بالعبادات وطهر عن المعاصي الظاهرة جوارحه نظر بقرائن الأحوال إلى باطنه ليتفطن لأخلاقه وأمراض قلبه. فإن رأى معه مالا فاضلا عن قدر ضرورته أخذه منه وصرفه إلى الخيرات وفرغ قلبه منه حتى لا يلتفت إليه. وإن رأى رعونة والكبر وعزة النفس غالبة عليه فيأمره أن يخرج إلى الأسواق بالقضية سبحان الله والسؤال، فإن عزة النفس والرياسة لا تنكسر إلا بالذل، ولا ذل أعظم من ذل السؤال، فيكلفه المواظبة على ذلك مدة حتى ينكسر كبره وعز نفسه، فإن الكبر من الأمراض المهلكة. سبحان الله. He is saying that just like a doctor, in treating a patient, it is mandatory for him that he should look into the sickness and then prescribe the medicine. And if he tries to treat all of the diseases with one medicine, if he tries to treat all the diseases with one medicine, he said the end result will not but the death of the patients. Right? सारे मरीजों को एक ही दवाई से इलाज करेंगे तब तो कोई ना कोई तो मरेगा. I still remember, my brother is a doctor and he was in the medical school, and once there was his exam and he wrote an exam and he didn't pass that exam. And he brought back the paper. He was trying to understand that, what did he do wrong? So the question was that, sir, these are the symptoms of the patient. So what should be done? And he wrote all what he was like, I think, first year, second year, I can't remember. So he wrote whatever, he thought that was the correct. And, the instructor, the examiner, at the end he wrote a comment, and the patient will die. That's what will happen. Then you try to treat all the patients with one medicine, that's what you think, you'll die. Maybe, possibly. He says just like that, the murshid, the shaykh should also not develop the same cure for all his patients. He should not develop the same tariqah, same way for the islah, for the treatment of all of his murideen. He says that if he does that, then he will also put his spiritual patients in the killing of their spiritual hearts. He said that he will kill the spiritual hearts of all of his spiritual patients. He said it is mandatory for the shaykh that first and foremost he should try to find out as to what is the sickness of his murid. And he should look into his halat, into his conditions, and should look into how old is he. And he should look into the mizaj and the tarbi and the tabi'at as to what is his personality like. Subhanallah. There are people who you just tell them one small little thing and they'll start crying. You correct them with a lot of softness, a lot of love. This is not the way, this is how it should be done. Or sometimes indirectly. And they will cry and they will cry and they'll cry. And there are some people you scold them, literally, in harsh tone, and still be jumping around. Subhanallah's mizaj is so different of people. That's very true. Maulana Sharafi Thanvi Sahib Rahmatullah Alayhi, I think it's his incident, that there were two people who did the same thing. He called both of them, and one he really scolded, really hard. And the other he said, aise nahi kiya karo. Don't, this is not good, don't do that again. Bas, very softly. And the people were around, him, and they asked Hazrat, two people did the same thing. And you really scolded one and the other, you just said in such a soft tone, aise nahi kiya karo. He said, go and look, what are they doing now? So the person that he really scolded, he was with his friends, laughing, gossiping. And the other person that he said, aise nahi kiya karo, he was sitting in a corner, he was crying with tears. He said, look, what if I had scolded him? He would have had a heart attack. So he says that the shaykh should look into the mizaj and the tabiat of the people. And he should also look into that how much mujahidah can he take? How much struggle can he actually take? And after looking into all of that, then he should prescribe a struggle for him. Again, no ill trait can be removed without struggle. मेहनत तो करनी है. मेहनत के बगैर तो कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा. अगर मेहनत नहीं करेंगे, if you don't work hard on yourself, it's not going to work out. अब कोई कहे बैठे बैठे कि जी मेरे अंदर से गुस्सा भी चला जाए और शहवत भी चली जाए और तकब्बुर भी चला जाए और बैठे पोटैटो चिप्स खा रहे हैं रोज बैठ के, कुछ मेहनत नहीं कर रहे, तो वो तो कुछ भी नहीं होगा. Nothing will happen. Nothing will change. Nothing will change. If you want to control yourself, that your shahwat gets into control, your anger gets into control, we must make an effort. Must. And we also must make an effort because we cannot die in this state. If we are stingy, if Shariat is not our priority number one, we must work on ourselves. इसके बगैर तो चारा है ही नहीं. There's no way out of that. मेहनत तो करनी ही करनी है. Because this is the goal of our life. We are born for this. Allah Ta'ala has given us this life for this. Can we work on ourselves and go back to Allah Ta'ala with the soundness of our hearts? अगर शरीयत का नहीं है ख्याल, तो ख्याल पैदा करें. ऐसा तो नहीं है, oh, I'm not that religious. What does it mean, I'm not that religious? I don't understand this comment. I'm not that religious. What do you mean by that? Well, you have to if you're not. Everybody has to be that religious that Allah Ta'ala demands from all of us. There's no way out. You're not some special person that Allah Ta'ala has given some excuse that you are allowed to not be that religious. We all have to be religious. We all have to be in the bounds of Shariat, not only ourselves, but also we have to encourage the people around us. This is our job. In fact, for men, it's even more so important, because Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran for men, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. You save yourself from fire and you save your families from fire. Save your wife from the fire. Save your children from the fire. हमारे ऊपर तो और भी जिम्मेदारी बढ़ गई. ना सिर्फ कि we have to develop ourselves, but we have to provide the means for the development of our wives and our children. We have to let them go into the environment. We have to, in fact, not only let them go, we have to enforce them sort of to go into the environment with love, with encouragement, not with force, of course, because when you do things with force, it'll break things. But with love, with encouragement, we have to take them into the environment so that they also learn. We should also encourage, not only should have a guide, a spiritual guide, a shaykh, but we should also, should encourage our wives and our children to take a shaykh in their lives. Because it is our responsibility as men, as husbands, that we should provide that environment for our wives and children so that they can also purify their hearts. ये तो हमारी जिम्मेदारी और भी ज़्यादा है. But there is no way out. There is no choice here. It's a must. It's a mandatory thing, because that's the goal for our life. To get the purification of our nafs and our hearts, so that we die in that state. We remove all the ill traits of our character. This is a mandatory thing. Must. ये कोई choice तो है ही नहीं. कोई ऐसा तो नहीं है कि आप कर लें और आप ना करें. सबको करना है. और क्यों पैदा हुए हैं? क्या? What's the purpose? Are we, we're not born to just, earn million dirhams every month. If Allah Ta'ala gives, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. It is not the goal of our life. Driving Lamborghinis is not the goal of our life. Allah Ta'ala gives us, alhamdulillah, it's blessing. But don't forget that we must also spend in the cause of Allah Ta'ala if Allah Ta'ala does give us. So, mujahada to karna hai. We have to struggle with ourselves. So he says that after the Shaykh looks into all of the environment, all the conditions, and all the history of the patient, then after that he should prescribe a mujahada for him, a struggle for him. He says if the murid is a mubtadi, yani he has just started his suluk, he has just gotten into the development of himself or herself, and he does not even know the hudud, the boundaries of the Sharia, of the sacred law, then the first thing that he should tell him is the basics, like tahara, like prayers, and the rules of the outward ibadat. Then he should teach him the masail, the rulings of all of that. Nobody can go to any level without covering the basics. Nobody can go anywhere. If people don't know how to make wudu properly, you can do whatever. You can stand on your head all night thinking that you are crushing your nafs, you're not going anywhere. If you don't know how to pray properly, you can do whatever. You can spend $1 million in charity. It's not going to take you anywhere. If you don't know how to fast, what breaks the fast, and you actually break the fast without knowing, whatever you do fast every Monday and Thursdays, is not going to take you anywhere. So the basics, tahara, prayers, fasting, how to give zakat, how to calculate zakat, these basics must be known. He's saying that the first thing first, go back to basics. If the murid is mubtadi, he's a starter, and he does not know the masail of the outward, the basic masail, then first teach them the basics. If he is involved in forbidden income, and if he is sinning, then he should stop him from that. He should stop him from living a life of sins. That's number 2. Or maybe not 2, but in parallel to that. Along with that if to teach him the basics, and also teach him that, my friend, that don't live a life of sins. And he specifically mentioned that if he's involved in earning haram wealth, wealth which is a blessing, but at the very same time, if it's earned in a haram way, that becomes destruction for people. If people come to me and they say they tell me that nothing is going right, I ask them a few questions. I ask them, are you in any sort of interest-based transactions? And if they are in that, I ask them to get rid of that first and foremost. If people are in any sort of any haram interactions, that is a destroyer. That is destruction. That destroys people. Wealth is very important, my friends. It's a blessing. It is khair. Allah Ta'ala said it is khair. It has good in it. Lekin at the very same time, it can destroy people as well. It's a very sensitive thing if it is earned in a haram way. If there's interest-based transactions, if people are cheating, people are deceiving others and they're earning, then it can be a destroyer. It can be destruction. So if people want to go anywhere, they need to make sure that the wealth that is coming to them is in the halal way. And subhanAllah, all of you who are working or who are doing a business, I can tell you that inshallah, if you try to earn that in a halal way, it will have more barakah in it. Maybe, if you're earning 50,000, maybe you earn 40,000. Maybe. Not necessarily, maybe. But that 40,000 will be a lot more than those 50,000. I can tell you that as well. The barakah that will come in that 40 will be a lot more than that 30. Sorry, that 50. So please, we have to make sure that the wealth that we are earning is halal. This is from the initial things that a shaykh must tell to his murideen. That learn the basics, know how to make wudu, know how to pray, what breaks the prayer, what are the faraid, wajibat, sunnahs of the prayer, what is the way to pray, and how to fast, etc., the basics. Also, tell him that earn halal. Please, earn halal. Don't be greedy. Earn halal. And inshallah, if you're losing in your business today, if you make the right intention, Allah Ta'ala will, inshallah, provide you. Inshallah. It's sabab, right? The business is a sabab. The job is a sabab. It is a sabab. Who provides in reality? Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala is Inna Allahu ar-Razzaq Dhul Quwwat al-Mateen. Allah Ta'ala is the Razak. Our jobs don't give us money. Our businesses don't give us money. Who gives money? Well, Allah Ta'ala. So, if Allah Ta'ala is giving, so why do we have to take haram means to take that? It is a sabab, just as a sabab. And because it is sabab and this dunya is darul asbab, we have to take sabab, some sabab, any sabab. But then trust in Allah Ta'ala after. Work hard in that sabab as well. Lekin, then have hope in Allah Ta'ala. But if you try to bring in haram ways in that sabab, then Allah Ta'ala will just stop. And then we'll continue complaining to ourselves, and then we'll say our businesses are not running fine, and we are not getting enough, and we're not getting promotions and increments in our salaries. Well, we have put a break in that. We ourselves have put a break in there. We have put a stopper in there. One stopper is that we take wrong means. We take wrong means. Either take interest or, it's the things that we are dealing in is not right, is haram. Or maybe the environment is not good. We could have controlled the environment, but we are not controlling the environment. Right? Or we are oppressing our employees. Sometimes people, especially people who do business, right? Or people who have the managerial or the director post, they sometimes suppress their employees. They don't take care of them. Subhanallah, they work so hard and we don't even care for them. It's very serious stuff. So we have to make sure that everything is right. And we have taken that sabab and then see how the barakat will fall, inshallah. And two, this one. And two is that people don't spend. See, our risk is written. But it is like a pipe. I've told that many times. It's like a pipe. Allah Ta'ala puts from one end of the pipe. And if you stop the other end of the pipe, it will get clogged very, very soon. If there is no space to put anything in that pipe, of course it will be waited until you clear up the pipe, you open the other end, then more will be put. Right? So people don't spend. People have that greed. They love to see their bank balance increasing. And they're complaining. They have $1 million in their bank, but they're still complaining. Because they have greed. Oh, as I said yesterday, people complain, they're really crying because they didn't earn, 50% profit. Well, you're still in profit. Why are you crying? See, you just look into what's going wrong. It is not any. SubhanAllah, if you think that I'll open a restaurant where I'll serve alcohol, because the majority of the people that drink alcohol in the area, it's not going to bring you anything. Any haram means will not bring you anything. Nothing. So you work or you do a business. Does not matter. I will tell you that. Does not matter. In fact, there's somebody who came to me and he was doing a business and he said, my business is not working right, it's not running right, should I work? Should I take a job? I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. What you should try to fix is yourself. This is what you try to fix. Because you have taken a sabab and in reality you have taken a better sabab. Tijarat has more barakat than working for somebody. It is 7 times better than working for somebody. And I said to him, you have taken a better sabab. If your business is not working right, going and working for somebody is not going to bring you anything until and unless you fix yourself, the issues that you have. And you fix your issues, you have already taken a sabab and that is a better sabab. Inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will give you a lot from this sabab that you have. It is very important. That's why I'm spending time on that. Because that's what he's saying. That if the murid is a muqtadi, along with the other things, what should be directed to him is that make sure your wealth is not haram. And all of the things that I mentioned are part of that. So please, subhanAllah, I've seen somebody came to me the other day, and he said that, things are not working right, so I want my wife to work. Well, it's not going to bring you anything. You should be providing to her. She is your responsibility. Fix yourself, my friend. बीवी को कहां पे लगा देंगे, पता नहीं क्या क्या करेंगे, कुछ नहीं हासिल होगा. Nothing will work out. Believe me, you're deceiving yourself. Because Allah Ta'ala has different ways to run the affairs of the dunya. And it is through halal ways. If you do things according to the permissible bounds, then inshallah, barakat will fall. It will come indeed. Allah Ta'ala wants to see us in luxuries, honestly speaking. Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu ajma'een, when they went through all of those mujahidas, so many mujahidas, and we know how many mujahidas did they go through. Eventually what happened? Look into the later lives of the Sahaba. Look into the later what happened to them. Allah Ta'ala opened the doors of dunya for them as well. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that I used to break the bricks of gold with my hands later on. Subhanallah. Allah Ta'ala wants that we enjoy these blessings of the dunya as well, keeping within the limits, making sure we don't get arrogant with that, making sure that we are still humble, making sure that we do spend in the cause of Allah Ta'ala as well, we do spend on our families and all of that. Allah Ta'ala wants, but it only comes through the proper channels, through the proper ways. If you don't fix your issues, your diseases, your sins, if you don't get rid of those, then you try whatever means. You will put all the family into working, and you work for somebody, and you work day and night and do your business, and you try all of that together. The end result will still be the same. Believe me. If you don't want to believe me, it's your choice, but believe me. So he's saying if the murid is the muqtadi, he is a starter, then he should first, and he does not know the basics of Sharia, tell him the basics of Sharia. And then the number two, that if he is involved in earning haram, tell him it's wrong. You're not going to go anywhere if the wealth is haram, if the means are haram, etc. And if he is sinning, then stop him from sinning. You stop him from living the life of sins. He says that when his zahir, his outward, will be purified from the sins and will be glowing with the light of the worship. And now he'll be worshipping in the right way because he didn't know how to pray. Now he knows how to pray. Didn't know how to make tahara. Now he knows how to make tahara. And then he's also leaving sins. He says when he will be purified from the outward sins, and he will be enlightened with the nur of the worship, then he says look into his circumstances and try to look into look into his batin. Now look into his batin, his heart, his spiritual heart. And look into that what sort of diseases does he have, like in his character, in his habits, all of that. And then he says, now do what? Now work with him with the opposites. Okay, before I go into this, I'll tell you one more thing. And please listen to it very carefully. And that thing is that there are two types of mashayikh. One is called mutaqaddimeen and the others are called mutaakhirin. Mutaqaddimeen are those mashayikh that came in the early times. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi When did I say? When was he born? Huh? 450 Hijrah? Around 450 Hijrah, like around 1000 AD, around. I think his death is around 1011. 1011. So we are in 2013. So he's like 1,000 years ago. And all the spiritual orders, the tariqas, were established after him, by the way. Imam Bahauddin Naqshband Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi came like a couple of hundred years later than Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi. And before that, the other three spiritual orders, that is the Chishi tariqa and the Sorwardi tariqa and the Qadri tariqa, are also are before Naqshbandi tariqa as well. So there are the mashayikh who came in the earlier times, and then there were mashayikh who came in the later times. So they are called mutaqaddimeen and mutaakhirin. The way to handle the spiritual diseases for all of them is different. The mutaqaddimeen, and that's why you look into, inshallah, if Allah Ta'ala gives us time today, and we go into some of the things that He is talking about to cure the diseases of the heart, He will talk about a lot of mujahidas. This has been the method of the mashayikh that were mutaqaddimeen. But later on, especially in our tariqah, the Naqshbandi Mujaddadi tariqah, we do not work a lot on mujahidas. We do not. I've never asked anybody to stop eating ice creams or biryanis. It is not the line of attack for us to these spiritual diseases. We have a different line of attack. But the reason I'm saying it, because what you're going to read now might be a little tough to digest. But this is how the mashayikh were treating their patients. And you can also realize that the people were so pure that they would still go in their khaniqat and they would spend time and will actually go through all of these struggles. Why? Because they knew what does it mean to purify their hearts. The reason that the mashayikh of the mutaakhirin mashayikh did not do that, because the sincerity was lifted from the hearts of the people, and people have become weak as well. Now if any of the shaykh, he puts into any of his students, his murideen, into any of these riyadat and mujahidat, I can tell you, I'll be talking to myself here. None of you will be sitting here. Honestly. Subhanallah, if I start talking about the mujahidat that these people went through, Allahu Akbar. But still, they were so sincere about themselves, because they wanted themselves to be saved from the fire of the hell and the punishment of the dunya and the grave and the day of judgment. They would take anything on themselves to fix themselves. Subhanallah. They realize what does it mean to purify their hearts. We don't realize anymore, because attractions are so many. And we are not given environment, and we don't even know what does it mean to live our lives properly. So he says that the shaykh, so first of all he does all what he has said, and then he looks into it. So now he is okay from his outward. He's praying properly, he's making wudu properly, he has left any haram wealth, he is now earning in a proper way, he's left the outward sins. He's left the outward sins. Now he's saying, look into his batin, as to what's wrong with his heart, what's wrong with his character. He says it that if he has more than necessary wealth, take that wealth and spend it in charity, so that his heart is not inclined toward wealth anymore, and he is absolutely connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says if he sees that there is arrogance and that self-respect within himself, and it is beyond, so that self-respect there is self-respect, everybody has it, but it's beyond limits and it's beyond the balance line. Or if he has arrogance, then he should send him to the market to beg. he should send him to the market to beg in front of people. Because he says that the cure for arrogance and self-praise, it does not go without putting the opposite of that, putting him into the opposite of that, into the zit of that, which is humility. And when you go and beg in front of the people in streets, subhanallah, any people who are not in the habit of doing that, it is one of the most difficult things that they can do. It is one of the most difficult things that you can do. There are examples like that in our history. Very well-known examples. He's just giving the treatment, but there are examples where the Mashaykh actually put, I'm just thinking that if it was the son of Harun al-Rashid or somebody else, that he went to his Shaykh and he was the son of the king. He said, you have that arrogance in your heart. You feel that you are the son of the king, you are the prince. If you want to correct yourself, go and beg in the streets first. And he actually begged in the street for 3 years. And a time came that himself was totally abased. And he had no takabbur anymore left in his heart. He says there's nothing more humiliating than begging. And then he says when this disease, he says until and unless this disease is removed from him, then he should work hard to get into this profession, of begging. ولا ذل أعظم من ذل السؤال فيكلفه المواظبة على ذلك مدة حتى ينكسر كبره وعز نفسه. And he says فإن الكبر من الأمراض المهلكة. This is one of the deadly diseases, arrogance. It is a deadly disease, arrogance. If anybody has an iota of arrogance in their hearts, Prophet ﷺ said he will not even smell the fragrance of paradise. On the day of judgment, if people were arrogant in this dunya, Allah Ta'ala will change them into the size of the ants, and people will walk over them, stepping over them. This is what arrogance is. And people are arrogant for different reasons. Oh, I'm very intelligent. What does he think? Who am I? Or people have arrogance of their wealth. They don't even look at the people who don't have that wealth properly. They don't talk to them properly. Or their employees, for example. They don't, behave with them in the same way that they behave with their peers. Or, for example, people have, say, maids working with them in their houses. They don't talk to them properly. Some sort of arrogance. Oh, I'm better than her, or I'm better than him. Or people have sometimes arrogance of the beauty, and there's more in women. And I'm more beautiful than her. I have better features than her, and they'll walk in that fashion, showing off. It's arrogance. And there's all sorts of arrogance. We must get rid of every single arrogance. Every single arrogance. Because Prophet ﷺ has said that he will not be able to enter paradise who will have an iota's weight of arrogance in his heart. This much. Because al-kibru ridai, pride is my cloak. Allah Ta'ala has said, pride is my cloak. Nobody can take that cloak. It's like shirk. It's like shirk. Because it's only for Allah. Nobody, none of us are allowed to have any sort of arrogance in our hearts. Ilm, beauty, wealth, position, strength, you name it. We cannot think that we are better than anybody. This is deen. This is what Allah Ta'ala wants. Treat with everybody in the same way. Of course, we treat differently, but it's based on something else. It's based on the position of people. For example, we give status to an alim, to a shaykh, because Allah Ta'ala has given him status. We do their adab, we do their khidmah, that's why. Or even in dunya, if somebody is a CEO, then we do it. I mean, for us, we must respect him because Allah Ta'ala has given him a worldly status. We treat with him differently as opposed to a beggar begging on the street. In just that way, not because of any arrogance. So if the CEO on the other side should be dealing with everybody in the same way, because he should not be treating people who are lower than him in worldly status any differently. But people should. So this is a whole, it's a total different discussion and totally different topic. But we must not have any arrogance in our heart whatsoever, because this is the cause of people not going into the paradise. ये बहुत मेहनत की जरूरत है इसके ऊपर. Takabbur, it's a deadly disease. I call it an atomic bomb of the spirituality. Because you are doing all the other good deeds, आप नमाज भी पढ़ते हैं, रोज़ा भी रखते हैं, charity भी करते हैं, तबलीग भी करते हैं, सब कुछ करते हैं, तकब्बुर है तो it's an atomic bomb, it destroys everything. It destroys everything. कुछ भी काम नहीं आएगा, because if you have arrogance, despite of the fact that you are fasting, praying, giving in charity, but you will not be able to enter into paradise. It's बहुत गड़बड़ है. That's why he's saying, what did he say? That فَإِنَّ الْكِبْرَ مِنَ الْأَمْرَاضِ الْمُهْلِكَةِ It's a destructive disease. So we must take care of that. So he is suggesting the cure to that is that you must abase your nafs. So now we don't ask anybody to go and beg in the streets, but still we must abase ourselves. And it is done, by the way. It's still done, but through a different way. Through a different way. There was a sheikh, a very big alim. He came to him and he took bay'ah with him to develop himself. As a big mufti, big alim of his town, everybody knew him. That, wow, there are some big, well-known names. So what did he say to him? He said, you go and sit in the madrasa again for a year. When you go and sit with the students, and these are the students that he was teaching, right? If people have arrogance in their heart, then it is very difficult to actually go and sit along with the students when he is such a well-known name. To crush that ego, that arrogance, because of the ilm that he had. It is absolutely necessary. Sometimes people, students who think themselves are very intellectual, they're very intelligent in the class, sometimes they are scolded in the class purposely so that they also know that I'm also a human being. It's not that I'll always say things right. It is done purposely to break that arrogance. It's still done, but in a different way. Nobody will be asked, now at least we don't do it. We don't ask anybody to go and beg in the street. But still, it is done, because this is such a deadly disease. And then he said, وَكَذَلِكَ الرَّعُونَةُ وَإِنْ رَأَى الْغَالِبَ عَلَيْهِ النَّظَافَةُ فِي الْبَدْنِ وَالثِّيَابِ وَرَأَى قَلْبَهُ مَائِلًا إِلَى ذَلِكَ فَرِحًا بِهِ مُلْتَفِتًا إِلَيْهِ استخدمه في تعهد بيت الماء وتنظيفه وكنس المواد القذرة وملازمة المطبخ ومواد الدخان حتى تتشوش عليه رعونة في النظافة فإن الذين ينظفون ثيابهم ويزينونها الحمد لله ويبطلون المرقعات النظيفة والسجادات الملونة لا فرق بينهم وبين العروس التي تزين نفسها طول النهار ولا فرق بين أن يعبد الإنسان نفسه أو يعبد صنما فمهما عبد غير الله تعالى فقد حجب عن الله ومن رأى في ثوبه شيئا سوى كونه حلالا وطاهرا مراعاة يلتفت إليها قلبه وهو مشغول بنفسه. Now he says another disease. If somebody, there's a murid who is always thinking about his body and his dress, then that's all what he's thinking 24/7. And he's very much inclined towards like being, as we call in English there is a term, it's like being tip-top. Not nobody should touch me. I'm very well dressed. There's a crease of my trousers and should not. I should be sitting very properly so that nothing gets wrong with my dress. He's like that. He says that the cure is that he should be involved in domestic work. For example, he should be asked to clean the house. And he should be asked to broom the dirty places. Or he should be given some work in the kitchen so that he will deal with the smoke, and that thing will be lifted from him. And that disease that his heart is only into that. Then he should do some work of where there is a little bit of uncleanliness so that thing is removed from his heart. And he says that the people who are always considering about their dress, so am I okay? And I'm not talking, he is not saying, by the way, don't misunderstand him. He is not saying that we shouldn't be dressing nicely. Allah Ta'ala says that. خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Allah Ta'ala orders that you should adorn yourself when you go to the masjid, and it's the best place where you can go to. And also meeting with people, you should be very presentable. And you should be, in this ihsan, if Prophet ﷺ has said that Allah Ta'ala loves to see the athar of His blessings on His abd. Yani if Allah Ta'ala has given people blessings, then Allah Ta'ala wants that it be seen. So for example, if you're earning 50,000 dirhams a month, and you are wearing clothes that are torn, and you're as if you're a beggar, Allah Ta'ala hates that. It's not zuhud. Allah Ta'ala wants that you dress properly. Whatever blessing Allah Ta'ala has given you, you show it accordingly. If Allah Ta'ala has given you, if you earn say 100,000 dirhams a month, and you're driving a, as I said yesterday, you're driving a 1990 model car, small car that, stops at every corner of the street. Allah Ta'ala hates that. Allah Ta'ala ko isme achhi nahi lagti. If Allah Ta'ala has given you, you must use them, and you must, show to people that Allah Ta'ala has indeed blessed me with all of these blessings. What he's talking about is that people's hearts are engrossed in that. That's all what they're thinking about all the time. Koi aur khabar hi nahi hai unko. There are people like that. There are people like that. SubhanAllah, there are people who change their dress 5 times a day. They have different dress for getting up in the morning, and then to go to work they have a different dress, and to take lunch they have a different dress, and to go and play golf in the afternoon they have a different dress, and then they go to the dinner at night and they have a different dress and different shoes and different watches, right? And he doesn't have it. I'm just I don't know why. They have just different things. Subhanallah. That's all what they're thinking. They go and look in their closet, and they have like men, especially men. I don't understand it from men, honestly. They have like 30 pairs of shoes, and they will just change that. Like they will wear 5 to 10. I'm just exaggerating, I know. But literally, there are people like they change their shoes, like 5 shoes for 5 different occasions for the same day. Good to go to take lunch, there is a different pair of shoes, and to take dinner, there is a different pair of shoes. There are people like that. Bilal has a lot of watches. Right, Bilal? MashaAllah. Matching, white dress, white watch. Black dress, black watch. He doesn't do that, MashaAllah. Or he doesn't do that anymore. So this is what he's saying. You're all engrossed in that. This is what he is talking about. They're all engrossed in this. That's all what you're thinking about. He says that if somebody is so much into his dress that this is all what he's thinking about, and he's trying to find beautiful. He's saying the sajjadat. What is that? The prayer mats. Janamas. Oh, this is that it is a little bit more cushiony, right? It's more comfortable doing such this. So he says, if people are into that, he says, there's no difference between these people and the brides. उसमें और दुल्हनों में कोई फर्क नहीं है. Because he says that the brides, that's what they do all day long. They are fixing their makeups, right? All the newlyweds. So that's all what they're doing. They're fixing their makeups, the lipstick. Get out of order, and then they go and sit in the front of the mirrors, and they're fixing it, putting their, coals, and all of these sort of things. There's no difference between them and the brides. And then he says, then there is no difference that a person worship himself or an idol. अपने आप की पूजा करें या किसी बुत की पूजा करें, so what's his difference? He is an idol by himself. He's worshipping his own self. That's what he's doing. And then he says that whenever people worship anybody but Allah, then his heart is veiled from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says that if people are over-engrossed in it, that rather than just taking care of, he must take care of himself. But if he is over in that, then he says that he is just worshipping himself. Inshallah, I'll take a break. Jazakumullah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.